Good morning and welcome to Zoom in with onlineart.gallery. My name is Annemie and today in the studio we have the very talented Brendon Bairstow. Welcome, Brendon.
Thank you, Annemie.
And thanks for letting us into your studio. For starters, let me just see what you are busy with there is absolutely stunning.
Thank you.
So I assume those are works in progress.
These two behind me are definitely works in progress. They're kind of almost finished, I think, but I suppose with the creative process, you never quite know until you just abandon them.
That it does not have a timeline. I understand that.
No, not at all.
So, Brendon, tell us, why art?
Sure. Honestly, nothing else brings me the same amount of joy and the same amount of frustration in my life. I really feel that I paint because I have to.
Yeah.
I love spending time in my studio. It's my sanctuary, my man cave, my happy place. And I paint mostly of an evening. Once the family and all the kind of normal daytime chores are underway, and it's really a place that I can come to and just explore and I suppose process life events, my emotions, my take on the world, and I do that via painting. And I suppose currently the work that I'm really drawn to in terms of subject matter would be kind of abstract landscape or kind of suggestive landscape. I think nature definitely inspires me, particularly water from a very young age, but also just being in nature. I'm lucky enough to live along the coast in Cape Town, so the sea is a big influence for me. But I also really enjoy, a good laugh with a cheeky mate, or cuddles with my daughter, or really kind of deep conversation that kind of just challenges my thinking a little bit about life, love, art.
Okay. So do you want to take us through your creative process? How do you start? How do you tackle a new project?
Okay. I am petrified. So I try and get a wash of color on as quickly as possible. And I also try and work on multiple canvases at one time. So it starts off with a wash, and I kind of have to sit back and kind of get a sense of the direction that the painting actually wants to take. Modeling paste and texture paste to kind of start building up the texture layers. And then I go back to washes and layers of acrylic paint to start off with, just so that I can kind of sense the direction that the painting's taking. And then once I'm happy with the overall direction, that's when I start working mostly in oils. And for me, that's really where the magic starts.
Yes.
Layer upon layer, and kind of building the work up slowly. And then as I paint at night, and I leave my studio, I switch off the lights and I close the door for the evening. And I go to bed with a song in my heart because I think that I have just created the best piece of my whole career. And I get up the next morning and I come back into my studio with a cup of coffee and I look at it and I absolutely hate it. And then I know that I need to leave the piece alone because I know that I'm so close to finishing. And if I carry on with that particular piece, I'm going to ruin it. Let's just wait for the paint to dry because unfortunately oil takes forever.
Yeah.
And then again, that's when the magic happens for my own creative process because because I don't like the work anymore, I'm not attached to the outcome. And that's when I can really start playing and having fun with the work. And, you know, I think you've mentioned it a couple of times, and it's certainly from an artist's perspective, it's a quote that has stuck with me for a long time, is that art is never really finished, it's just abandoned. And I suppose the trick is to understand when to abandon a piece and let it go.
Okay. So your process is really as much a surprise for you as for us, the viewers.
Sure.
That's actually amazing.
I suppose that for me, that's what keeps interesting, you know, in terms of the actual process.
So who are your favorite artists in terms of influences?
Wow. I think that's kind of 2 or 3-fold. So I think from an artist perspective, I follow lots of artists on Instagram. In a South African sense, you know, there's a guy called Reese Swanepoel who does amazing charcoal work, and we've started to collect some of his work. There's Nanette Ranger, who we've started to collect some of her sculptures. I like some of the sculptures that you do, and hopefully when I grow up, I can afford them, because they're really great. The little pigs can fly. I'm besotted with them. And then I think, for me personally, and it may not influence my work, but the art that I really enjoy kind of challenges the status quo and challenges me as a person. So, I mean, one of my favorite artists of all time is a woman by the name of Jane Alexander. And while she was at Stellenbosch University, she created a piece called The Butcher Boys, which is actually in the Cape Town National Gallery. And it's a completely haunting piece.
Yeah.
And then when I was in the UK, I was lucky enough to not work for, but work within an organization that was owned by the UK artist Damien Hirst.
So Brendon, what is your favorite music genre?
There's 2 things that I need in my studio when I paint. One is definitely music, and another is a good glass of wine. And my music taste is really eclectic. It kind of goes from one end of the spectrum to the other. So, and it really does influence my painting process, the music that I listen to.
Yes.
So some of the things that I have on my phone would be classical music, opera. I've just recently been introduced to some heavy metal, which I've never really liked before, which is quite interesting for me. I'm quite a spiritual person, so quite a lot of kind of spiritual, new agey type music, some Buddhist chanting. Sometimes I can paint for an hour or 2 with literally one song on repeat, and that really works for me.
I have to say that it just sounds like I want to come sit with you in your studio while you work. You've got wonderful natural light there. You've got wine, you've got music. So I might just pop in when I'm in Cape Town again. So
Come for a glass of wine anytime.
Thanks. So lastly, tell us, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received regarding art?
Cool. I try and live my life by a few pieces of simple advice that I've received along the way. One of the longest standing kind of mantras for myself is, this too shall pass.
Yes.
And that life is fluid and life is ever changing, and it's really to become comfortable with that change. I think as well, follow your bliss, and that has really assisted me from an art perspective. I like to think that I take what I do seriously, without taking myself too seriously.
Good advice.
Which kind of helps. And then lastly, and this is really a life mantra for myself, is do what you wish as long as it harms none, including yourself.
No, that's really words to live by. So Brendon, thank you so much for your time. It was really interesting chatting to you. If you want to see more of Brendon's work, go over to our website, onlineart.gallery. He really has amazing pieces, but he also does commissions. So with that, we say goodbye and thank you.
Thank you, Annemie.